So it's the beginning of a new month, the first Monday of a new month, and I'm excited to be seated here this morning to moderate the morning show, specifically the news review segment. My name is Kwame Owusu. So a big thank you to you for watching the program from when it started, I think about 6 a.m. when we brought you the morning news till Bless and Ohima gave us, all the other segments. So we're excited that you continue to stay with us. Now, let me quickly share with you the topics for our conversation this morning, and then we will, I'll introduce my panelists for today's conversation. So, Tinibu offers temporary minimum wage increase. That's a story, an African story by Daily Graphic newspaper. Alan will draw votes from MPP Kennedy Agyepong. Korle-Bu CEO management exposed records review. Hospital already charging new fees for dialysis. The Anchor newspaper. I've been joined in the studios by Saka Salia representing the MPP and Honorable Dr. Rashid Pepo. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and thank you very much for your time.
Hello, good morning.
Right, so let's go to Nigeria, and I think it's important that we always deal with the African stories here. I think one of the things which was the subject matter of controversy, or rather commentaries, is the fact that Tinibu had not found his feet, and so a lot of the things were not functioning properly in Nigeria. We are learning this morning that there's been a slight increment in minimum wage in Nigeria. People ask, well, some people say it's a start of a good governance, but others say it is not enough, considering the resource viability of Nigeria. One would have expected that they would do more for its citizenry, and also given the fact that they have the most youthful population in Africa, one would have also expected that they would do more. And also finally considering the fact that they are, when you talk about the economic giants of Africa, Nigeria cannot be excluded in that conversation. And so Saka Salia, respectfully, let me start with you on this one. Do you think, well, in as much as we may have our own, negative commentaries to share in respect of what is transpiring in Nigeria, we cannot also discount the fact that this is the beginning, perhaps, of what is yet to come in terms of development in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers. Good morning to the MPP fraternity, to the president and then the vice president. And good morning to my grandfather, Rashid Pepo, who is also a member of parliament for West Central.
Yeah.
I think this morning we are not hearing good news.
Oh, is it true that ETMS has passed though?
Yes.
And former President Kufuor's wife?
Kufuor's wife too.
That's sad.
So it's a very sad situation that we find ourselves this morning. I mean, their souls rest in perfect peace. Kwame, when it comes to African matters, I think that it has become more or less a head-to-headed problem on us. We all know, I mean, when it comes to resource richness, we are the richest continent in the world in terms of potential, in terms of the fact that we have everything, but how to harness them, how to get leadership in order for us to benefit from all those things. And based on lack of leadership to harness our resources, we are a continent of plenty, a continent that has plenty, but deep in poverty. And that's the reason why sometimes when I hear people quote Nanado out of context, when he says that Yetisikaso comedy, people don't understand.
Explain to us what you mean by that.
So when we say Yetisikaso comedy, it's about the fact that we have the potential to be rich, but we have allowed ourselves to be poor. For instance, you have cocoa. You only sell the raw cocoa outside, and you get peanuts. When you could have harnessed the cocoa, when you could have change the cocoa into a secondary or tertiary product. I mean, if you go and sell cocoa beans and glorify yourself as the largest producer of cocoa, and so what? But you should, even if you are not the largest producer of cocoa beans, you should be able to get what you want from the little that you produce by changing it into chocolate and other things in order to get the benefit for the people. So if you look at all these things, we have gold, we have almost everything. So I'm saying this based on the Nigeria situation. So Nigeria is a very rich country, one of the richest in the world.
Yep.
And one would have expected that based on some of these things that I talk about, I mean, harnessing the resources for the benefit of the people, they have not been able to do so as at now or as yet. And therefore, the little they have, they will have to make do with it. And in terms of giving them the best minimum wage that they deserve, I think how much did they say they give? They give. I think that about 300 or something.
Yeah.
Nigeria.
It's just a slight increment. That's what I think about this.
Yeah. So based on all these things, I think that there has been increments, and there is nowhere in the world that people will be happy, especially when it comes to wages and salaries. People think that they are always shortchanged because they think there's a mismatch between their inputs and what they are paid and all that. So in Nigeria, I'm sure by now people might be, so a lot of people will not be happy because of the marginal increase in wages, in the minimum wage or so, and therefore would have expected to be paid more to commensurate with their effort and all those things. It's cut across that sense of entitlement, or we are entitled to, a certain amount of salaries, even if the government cannot afford. And look at the population of Nigeria, and sometimes we should understand that some of these underdevelopment and lack of development has to stem from even our political system. You don't expect somebody to come within 4 years, the person will do magic. Within 4 years, after a decades of decay, then somebody just come in and he say, oh, increase the minimum wage to a certain level. That will let everybody be happy. The economy will collapse. It will greatly collapse. So in all these things, it has to do with planning towards the future. And that is the reason why sometimes when it comes to democracy, people have some misgiving about democracy, because it's a very expensive venture and it does not give people the time and the mind to think and then deliver the goods. And therefore the people will keep on changing personnel, and the status quo keep on revolving. In the end, nothing has been done. Even if something is done, the pace of development is so slow. And I think that where we are, where our underdevelopment is no longer a secret, we need to accelerate the pace of development by doing things extraordinarily. But this kind of tokenism, let's add them 1, 2 cities and all those things. And then the people who are also governing are not given the opportunity to do well, to do as is expected of them. And even the longevity to do so. You want to do A, B, C, D. You are thinking of the election, and therefore you won't do it. If I do it, I might lose the election. And then somebody is taking advantage of that. Oh, let us not let him do it. If he does it, he will take the glory. So let's spoil it. Then they will come, and then you know what you are supposed to do, but you cannot do it because of expediency when it comes to elections and all those things. Therefore, the cycle of poverty keep on, moving. That's the problem with Africa. I am not here to say that Nigeria, because of their resources, they should have given, their workers some extraordinary amount of wages and all those things. It all has to do with what you have. You cannot give what you don't have. You understand? And therefore, within this period of time, I think that, and based on what has happened in the whole world, I mean the COVID that has given us economic setback and all those things, one would not expect, even though there are challenges here and there, the challenges is also the government also faces challenges. There are challenges of the individual, inflation and all those things. There is also a challenge of government not meeting its revenue, and therefore we all have to come to the middle ground so that the little government can give, and then you also bring your efforts, and then the wheel of economic development would move in a way that will help everybody.
Well, there are reports that Nigeria has recorded some snail pace of growth, especially in the last quarter, this quarter of 2023.
Yeah.
By reason, and the economy largely has been driven by services. There's been some sharp decline in oil production. But in all of these, you find that Tinibu is trying to, as it were, increase the minimum wage for the citizenry. Don't you think that this is something that we must applaud rather than, so that in the event that we see some increment in growth, the GDP and all of that, then that can also translate into how the people can be taken care of by Tinibu. Don't you think that we should applaud him right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Things are
if you listen to my submission, I actually applauded him.
Yeah.
And I said, I look at a very young government. When they came, there has been some modicum of growth in the economy, like you alluded to.
Yeah.
And in some jurisdiction, you don't expect all of a sudden Tinibu to add it, or to
change the structure
things so dramatically.
Yeah.
You expect him to steady the economy a bit, and then introduce some changes and innovations as the years go by. So even in certain jurisdictions, they would have expected that you maintain the economy, so that next year you can do the increment because of the history when it comes to economic growth in
let's look at some of the sectors which grew. Now, if you look at the report by MBS, it said that the growth rate is lower than the 3.54% recorded in the second quarter of 2022, and may be attributed to the challenging economic conditions within the quarter. So that is stated.
Yeah.
According to the report, the performance of the GDP in the second quarter of 2023 was driven mainly by the services sector, as I earlier stated, which recorded a growth of 4.42% and contributed 58.42% of the aggregate GDP. Now, one of the sectors that I think we must sort of commend the administration for perhaps maybe investing more in is the agricultural sector, which grew by some 1.50%, an improvement from the growth of 1.20% recorded in the second quarter of 2022. So it's more like they are pulling parity with what happened in the same quarter in 2022 and what is happening in this quarter in 2023 or second quarter of 2023. Putting them side by side and seeing which of the sectors grew and what accounted to the growth. So generally, there are some investment, in my estimation, which have been made in specific sectors, which is sort of culminating into the snail pace growth that we're experiencing. Albeit that yes, GDP, there are issues with it, but we're still seeing some significant growth within some of the specific sectors. Do you think it's deliberate policy just to make sure that some sectors grow? I think we have, and I'll land at this so you can come in, that the conversation, even for us in Ghana, has been about specifically investing in sectors, which sectors will yield some positive results to offer some backbone or some support for the economic transformation and transition that we are looking for. They are saying that they are seeing some significant growth in agriculture. Is it deliberate? Do you think it's deliberate?
Yeah, I don't think that the growth in agriculture is significant growth. No, they said 1 point
to 1.50. I mean, it's
not significant.
No, it's marginal, whatever, but it's still growth.
Yeah, it's growth. Yeah. Even 0.1% saving growth.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm not happy there.
Okay.
That agriculture growth has been very marginalized, marginal growth, and services sector. The services sector, sometimes when we grow, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't result in
it doesn't mean anything. And especially my disappointment with the agriculture subsector is the fact that if you take Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, for instance, where we have relative advantage is agriculture and agribusiness, and therefore that can propel the growth. And when there is so much growth within the agriculture sector, it means that the effect will be huge. Because it means that it has affected a lot of people. The value chain when it comes to agriculture, transportation, changing the raw product into secondary product and all those things, you could see that when there is, anytime there's a growth in agriculture, it means that jobs have been created, lives have been touched and all that. But it's different when it comes to the services sector and other sectors. And therefore, if the agricultural growth is very minimal, it shows that a lot did not go into the economic growth.
Does it tell you that perhaps we have misplaced priorities as a continent? Because like you rightly alluded to, we should be able to tap into the untapped areas where our strength really lies. For instance, agriculture and things like that. Because we have the land, we have, you know, the vegetation, we have what's it called? We have the climate on our side and things like that. So you're saying that we should do more and perhaps focus all our attention on those sectors in order that we can benefit from it.
I mean, you remember. I agree with you. You see, that is the reason why I told you about where we have the relative advantage, and therefore, much of the population are engaged in that. And when there is, anytime there is growth in that agricultural sector, it means that a lot of people propel it.
Absolutely, because you looked at the value chain. You spoke about the value, which was brilliant.
But you see, Nigeria and some other countries that discovered oil. You remember, you know, the Dutch disease syndrome and all that. People think that if you go to Nigeria, especially the youth, people feel that if you want to make it, you have to go into the oil business, and therefore you see productive youth venturing into some into the oil business to the detriment of some other areas that could have benefited the society and even they themselves and all that. So that was one of the reasons. You remember this what was the name of this states that had a lot of bandits who go, you know, destroying pipelines and all this.
Northeast.
And all this. So people think that you can only make it through the oil business, and that's where the government should focus, redirect the attention of the youth to agriculture, just like in Ghana. The planting for food and job thing that we brought, at least it cannot be 100% success, but it's even the noise around it actually draw people to the fact that agriculture is what we need and all that. And people, especially at the time when people were doing all manner of galamsey, destroying the environment and doing all these things, if you bring incentives to farmers, refocus their mind to agriculture, I think that in the end it will help us. And indeed, that's one of the reason why Ghana today we have food security, and in terms of even our export of certain commodities, it has reduced and all that. I think that it has to do, everything else is about leadership. It is about leadership and how they think about the people and how they fashion policies. And for me, I think that we should give this Tinibu government the benefit of the doubt, because this is a new government at its embryonic stage, and therefore you don't expect so much from them at this stage. But at least from what I've seen so far, I think that the potential for the government to do well is there.
I'll come to Doc very soon, but again, let me stay with you, because I think you are trying to. You are looking at issues from different perspectives, and I like it. The concept of policy creation must be predicated on the needs and aspirations of the people, you know. So if government is making investments in specific policies and agriculture is not leading that conversation, then it begs the question as to whether or not the direction really is for the growth of agriculture. Now, I think if you look at the Nigerian economy, they have made some strides when it comes to agriculture, because particularly banning the importation of specific produce which can be produced locally. And remember the closure of the borders and things like that because of that. So they are trying to create a certain niche market for specific local produce. Now, do you think that perhaps they need to look beyond just the production of specifics to the expansion of industry, such that, you know, once there's that production, the value chain is there, the product is on the market, people can purchase it and things like that. Also expanding the market beyond the peripheries of the Nigerian economy. Because if you look at, for instance, AFTA, I do not see why we cannot do intra-trade. So for instance, Ghana, I'm just, for the purpose of example, that maybe we consume a lot of rice. So Nigeria will be supplying us with rice. Maybe Nigeria consumes a lot of tomatoes. So Ghana will be supplying Nigeria with tomatoes. I'm just saying. Maybe, you know, Magdan has this salt industry. Maybe Kenya imports some 13 point something billion or 300 point something million or billion dollars per annum of salt from Brazil. So can we say that, okay, Ghana will be supplying Kenya with salt? You know what I'm saying? So if there's that intra-trade, then the focus and attention and the direction can be tilted towards specific sectors, which sectors will now lead the growth agenda. Why don't we do that?
I think that, you see, what you are saying is perfectly right. I mean, this was one of the reasons why the AFTA was created, and Ghana has been very instrumental in the creation of the Africa Free Trade Continental Area.
Yeah.
And if you look at the rationale behind it,
yeah,
it's about exactly what you have just said.
Yeah.
The rationale behind it is about creating markets and ensuring that there is a guarantee market for would-be investors if they come to Africa to do investment and all those. And even we ourselves, you remember, in Africa, there is no South-South trade. We don't trade among ourselves. We trade among ourselves 15%. And we trade with Europe about 85%.
Absolutely.
It means that, you see, all these things that we talk about, that was one of the reasons. You remember Agua? It was one of this innovation that the US government brought some time ago to create market for Africans. Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, to create a market for us so that we can go to the US, get our product there and all those things. But you see, we don't necessarily need to go to US or anywhere, China or whatever. We ourselves, like you talk about salt, we have salt, we can give it to Nigeria. Nigeria also needs something. Or we also need something, we can get it from Nigeria and all that. But you see, in some of these things, I mean, if, for instance, just after time, Nigeria, I don't know whether they have even signed onto the agreement, onto the policy yet, because they were one of the people that delayed in signing to the protocol, because they felt that like they have the numbers, they have the market already, and that the relationship would not be symbiosis.
Yeah.
It will be parasitic. That's how they felt. They felt they have the market. I mean, if you are talking about over 200 or getting to 300 million people, they should replicate what China did. China don't necessarily need anybody that much because of the sheer population that they have. They can create the market themselves and all that. But you see, when we talk about Africa, and especially Nigeria, look at the market, the West Africa market, over 500 million people. 500 million is huge. If we are able to do, for instance, this agriculture product and then get them into tertiary, secondary products and industrialize, we can even do that moving outside West Africa.
Yeah.
But I don't know the leadership of the various countries when we talk about bringing even when we talk about bringing our currencies together,
the
a common, it took a lot of interminable time.
It's not even material.
You get the point. People feel like even the criteria that countries have to meet before it comes to fruition. I mean, it looks impossible.
Right.
All has to do with the economic situation of the various countries. So that if one country is not moving, it has a direct effect on the other.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why when you are in a continent and something is happening to one, you shouldn't say that you fear them.
Yeah.
Because what is happening to one would have a concomitant effect on the other.
All right.
And that is what we are seeing.
Very well.
That countries are not developing and is dragging the others also down.
Very well, thank you very much, Mr. Kasale. You're still watching the News Power segment here on Pan-African Television. We're discussing Nigeria, the decision by Tinibu to increase the minimum wage. quite marginally for the benefit of the Nigerian people. We're trying to do a linkage between that and why there's not been, in my estimation, a significant, increment, and rather a marginal increment. We have cited reasons, maybe perhaps as indicated and alluded to by Sakasalia, that we've not had specific focus on sectors, which sectors will create the enabling avenues for people to do businesses and for the country to also earn an income from same. Let me remind you that we are streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. I'm also on Facebook as Kwame Owusu Danso. So for those of you who are following me on Facebook, you may want to respectfully share your views via my Facebook platform, and I will read the messages here for you. If you are also watching us on Facebook, you can do so by commenting underneath the live stream, and I'll read it for you. If you are on YouTube, you can also look for Pan-African Television's page on YouTube and send the messages there, and then I'll read it for you. People are commenting on my suit. Yes, I got a suit from Cook's Looks. It was in Ghana. Yeah, Ghana. So for those of you who are interested in buying suits for whatever, weddings, parties, graduations, office and whatnot, kindly call Cook's Looks on 054-967-4269. 054-967-4269. When you call, use the promo code KOD, and you will get a huge discount. So the number again is 054-967-4269. He can send it to you anywhere you are on the continent, whether you are in Nigeria, whether you are in Senegal, Gambia, wherever it is. Once you place a call to him, he will make sure that it's available to you. Now, let me read a few messages before I come to our dear Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpo. Now, there are messages from Nigeria, and Ezedinobi Chindolin says, please, point of correction, Nigeria don't supposed to exist, like in their language. Nigeria is not even supposed to exist in the first place. And he said, good morning, Africans. Gafari is watching us from Janton. Now, where is it? Oh, dear Lord, I just missed it. Where is it? Okay, I'll look for the message because I think I just missed it. Okay, well, I found it. This one says, good morning to you, my brother. Jay, I'm watching you live from Oyarifa, Teman. Keep it up. Good work. Okay. Ibrahim Boss says, hi, KOD. Good morning. I'm watching you live from Hillsborough in New Jersey. Thank you very much for doing the watching. This one says, Clixon Chuk says, good morning to you, Kwame. Please also add that Tinibu also increased his salary and that of his ministers and judges by over 100% the moment he was sworn in. Okay. All right. Kucho Said says, KOD, good morning. Tell your MPP man that we Akans are listening. What is he talking about yet? Sikaso. Did he understand? Does he understand Chi? Can maybe translate it in his language and then he will understand. He should stop the lies as a Muslim. All right. With respect, let me come
when
to.
We talk of Sika, it doesn't necessarily mean cash. Yes.
Okay. Well.
So if not, ask him. If not, when we say Sika Koko, what is it? Is it cash money?
Yeah, but whatever it is, it translates
Sika
to
means resources.
No, but yeah, it translates to some form of money. Gold.
So,
when you mine gold, you get money out of it.
So if you
sell
have
it.
the resources and then you cannot finance them.
Right, you are right. But also it can be money too, depending on where the.
But
person
not necessarily
is.
money.
All right. I was going to say His Excellency. Dr. Rashid Pelpo, let's hear from you on this whole Tinibu subject matter. We've tried to do some linkages. Because of your international relations background, you may want to also, go into other areas perhaps that we have not averted our minds to help the discussion, please.
Well, thank you very much. My grandson just reminded me about informed me about the passing on of E.T. Mensah. I never knew about it until he mentioned it. And my condolences to his family and friends and his dear ones. It's a very bad day for those of us who know him so well to hear about his passing on and didn't hear that he was sick at any one point in time. I worked with him for a while when I was working with the National Youth Council. And I remember when I finished the university, he insisted that I should go and work in ISA, a school I opened by my instrumentality, we got open in Issa for the Youth Leadership Training Institute.
Oh, I see.
I told him I wanted to stay in Accra because I had some plans, but he said, no, go and start that school as the first principal. And then I went. In fact, he was also the one I invited when I became the first staying president in Ghana to come and inaugurate the TAIN. And then I remember later on he came to give me an award, you know, and pass some very very interesting comments, which I will not bring up here because it will look like extolling my own image. So, but I mean, he was great for Ghana, the longest serving minister of sports, and who worked across board. He was criticized at one point for moving towards NPP and working, but it shows that he was a statesman, you know, and could be anything else that would create value for Ghana. Anyway, may his soul rest in peace. And I also heard about the death of the former First Lady, Mrs. Kufuor, and she was a quiet lady, a lady who served his country quietly, didn't talk too much. And one of the presidents I have a lot of respect for. And so I would say that these few days we have come across in Ghana have not been very sweet to us, but it's part of our human existence that where there is life, there must be an end. And we exist, but we will live. Anyway, so about Nigeria and Tinibu's increase in daily wage of the ordinary workers, or let me say the low-end salary workers. What he has done has increased their salary to $71 a month, I suppose. Or is it $71 a month?
Yeah.
But that shows that we are far behind the reality of the times. Can you imagine if you are working in another country, you earn $10 an hour, and within 8 hours when you work, you earn 80 pounds or $80, let me say $80. So within 1 day of work, you can earn more than 1 month of work in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Let me say Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but all across the West African continent. And so, but it is a good thing that he has taken that step, because we need to see dynamics, changes, advancing towards the betterment of the people. We are in power because the people have chosen us to be in power.
Absolutely.
And we have to respect their pulse, their feelings, and we have to work towards attaining a level where they would be fulfilled by choosing us rather than somebody else as leaders. So that action is good. But it's coming at a time, two events are taking place in Ghana here. You remember, if you look at the picture here, you see the president welcoming Ibn Chambers.
Yes.
The ECOWAS Parliament is meeting in Ghana. CPA is meeting in Ghana. Commonwealth Parliamentarians Association, they are meeting in Ghana. Major events. And the headline of the ECOWAS meeting is that save democracy in the sub-region. That's what the president is saying. Now, why would the president be saying we should save democracy? He says that we should save democracy because right now democracy is in danger in West Africa. And so they are calling on the ECOWAS to do whatever they can to save democracy. But you cannot save democracy if leadership don't show responsibility. So that kind of responsibility shown by Tinibu is what we are looking at. You have to demonstrate that you care for the people because they put you there. If there is no way by which they can get what they want, then you have an adventurous, military adventurous moving in and taking power. And with the support of the people, look at what is happening in Mali, Niger. The people in Niger came out solidly to support their coup makers. And so when the people are asking for something and you are unable to provide it, and you turn on yourselves and making all the life happy for yourself, providing all the benefits for yourself, the total effect is that the people will be dissatisfied. And once they are dissatisfied, the repercussion is that there will be coup d'etats and upheavals and disturbances and people discontent with the leadership. So rather than saying we should stop coup d'etats, we should be talking about we should make the people happy.
Yeah.
We should work towards fighting corruption, destruction of our lands. You know, there's too much talk about corruption in Ghana, for example. There's too much talk about waste of resources, you know, across the West African continent. I mean, West African sub-region.
Yeah.
And as a result, we are torn into fear that something else would happen which will not be good for us. So for this thing done by Tinibu, I think that much more should be done. Nigeria is the richest country in Africa, but the poorest people you can find in the world, in Africa, are in Nigeria. If you take all the countries and find the number of poor people who are living below the poverty line, 90% of them are from Nigeria. Why are they coming from Nigeria when Nigeria is listed as the richest country in the world, in Africa? Corruption, lack of commitment to working towards achieving the best for the people, individual selfish ideas, stealing of national resources by politicians and businessmen are all part of the reasons Nigeria cannot rise above the circumstance we find it now. Nigeria, if Nigeria is well cured of corruption and waste, Nigeria can lead Africa into one of the best you can find in the world. People will move towards Nigeria, the economy will blossom, the people will be happier, and a mere increase to $71 or by a president would not excite anybody, wouldn't be an international news. You know, because what we are doing now is just a mediocre of what we can achieve. And I think that we should start looking at the issues that can create wealth for the nations, because we talk about trade. You see, if Africans are able to increase their trade from where we are to just 10%, in fact, in some quarters, they say 1%. If you want to do international trade, and Africa can increase its wealth by 1%, between 1% to 10%, we wouldn't need loans from anybody. It's huge investment. And so the idea that we can develop only if we go to the West for loan is one of the mentalities that continue to destroy who we are, our economies, and demean us in the midst of in the community of nations. So for me, we should be looking at situations that will create internal wealth, domestic wealth, not situations that will draw in resources from other countries. You know, Ghana, for example, we are happy because IMF is going to give us $3 billion.
Yes.
How much has Bank of Ghana lost this year as a loss? Over 60 billion.
66.
66 billion. Divide that by 11.4. You realize that we are getting about $6 billion, $6.6 billion. That's the amount of waste we experience in this country. But we are going to take just 3 billion, and our whole fortunes depend on that. If they refuse to honor our request to do that, the economy will collapse. You see, so here you have waste, and here you are going to beg for the same thing you have wasted. But that's the kind of economies we run in West Africa. as if we don't care. You know, so, and then you can find up to $1 million in somebody's room. Can you imagine that? Up to $1 million in somebody's room. In America, if you have $10,000 cash and the police finds $10,000 in your car, you have to answer where you get the money. $10,000, even $5,000, you'll have to answer where you find it. Because they can't imagine one person holding that money outside. It's not possible. And let me tell you too, if you go to Europe and you are buying something in the market and you have dollars up to say $1,000 in your hand, people begin to ask, where is this guy from? Is he from our world or he's from somewhere else?
Yeah.
It doesn't look real. And I was in London and I was in a train station. Because I didn't have a card, I wanted to buy a card which I could use to travel. I had £50 on me. In fact, I couldn't get anybody to agree to change £50 for me.
Wow.
It's too big to be holding, for somebody to be holding it. £50. You are holding £50. I took it here, they said they don't have change for me. I took it here, they said, and that was it. So somebody had to come to my rescue. Because in that station where a lot of activities are going on, nobody was willing to change £50. It's too big. So, but we display wealth in West Africa as if it's normal. And these are stolen monies from the people. You know, you get to the West and they are surprised about what we do with our wealth. We were in Brazil quite a while, about 2 or 3 years ago. And what we went to do as members of parliament, we ran into a situation where they said they won't trade with Ghana anymore. Ghanaians can come into the continent, the West Africa, into the European Union and can buy a house, cash. They can't believe it. Buy a vehicle, cash. They can't believe it. How can you do that? The bank, the Ghanaians were pushing the money through in Brazil. They closed it. They said, no. This is stolen money. One person cannot have £500,000, 500,000 euro to go and buy a house. So you get there from Ghana and you run into people. When you tell them I'm a minister or I'm a member of parliament, people are saying, hey, then you must be a rich guy. Why? Because Nigerians hold so much money. And when you say introduce yourself as a minister or MP, then they think that you are holding so much money. Because that's what Nigeria has portrayed to the rest of us. And Ghanaians are copying it. We had to go into negotiation with the European Union into asking them not to destroy their relation with Ghana. Because they thought that there was too much money laundering from Ghana. Money was just flowing into Europe from Ghana as if, it was normal for you to be holding cash and spending it the way we spend it. So when we begin to copy our brother Nigerians, Ghana is going to be the worst off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The way they hold money. So Tinibu's small gesture to the people, to the federal wage increase, is symbolic to the many things he can do to create wealth in Nigeria and to be able to get the people to benefit from the wealth. And I think that we should take advantage of it and do much more for our people.
Very well. That was Dr. Rashid Popo there. Let me remind you that you were still watching the News Preview segment here on Pan-African Television. It's a Good Morning Africa show. You can leave your comments on the live feed and we will read them out for you. If you are also on YouTube, you know what to do. You can go on our YouTube page and then leave your comments there. We'll read it out for you. For those of you who may want to send us a text message or a WhatsApp message, I think the numbers will be put on your screens, so you can also share with us what your thoughts are. We've been dealing with issues from Nigeria, and I think I have a few messages from Nigeria that I may want to also share. Isaac Vision says, good morning to you, sir. Watching you live from Jasikan. There's going to be a festival in Accra, in Oti region, my father's hometown, on the 26th. So yeah, we'll be there in Accra. It's a Keleko festival, I think. Yeah, they have the art, they'll play it. Goy Lolonya says he is comparing mangoes to apples. The bills we pay here no be joke. It's better than Ghana, but what he used to support his comments were wrong. I don't know what you're referring to, if you can be clear. Then he comes back and says, doctors started 3-day strike today in England over pay. The systems are not the same. That is what you are saying. Edward Dugbaja says, it is interesting we are having these political meetings in Ghana. Honestly, Ghana is not practicing democracy. We are only doing voting and elections. Nothing is working in Ghana. Okay, right. So these are the messages that you shared with us on Facebook. You can also share with us what your thoughts are on Facebook, and then we'll read the messages out for you. Let's now come back to Ghana, because there are also other issues that are making airwaves or headlines, and then it's important that we touch on those stories as well. Now, you recall that there was. Okay, before I get to the Korle-Bu issue, I think that Kennedy Agyepong is saying that Alan will draw votes from the MPP. So we may have to touch on that. And again, I think it's important to start with Saka Salia, because you are an MPP communications representative here on the show. So it's important that we hear from you before we come to Dr. Rashid Pepu for his 1 cent on this matter. But we have seen the backstory to what led finally or eventually to the resignation of Alan Kojo-Srimantin from the race and then from the party. He announced that he is contesting as an independent presidential candidate. People have criticized, some are in support. Now, of course, we've heard commentaries from the NDC. The NDC says, "Oh, he's no force. He's not a viable third force, etc., etc." I've heard those arguments, and I think on Saturday I had the opportunity of being on Alaji, and I commented on it. People, obviously, were not happy with my comments, insulted me here and there. But the truth still remains that this is somebody who has risen through the ranks within our political space, and we cannot at all discount the relevance and the potency of his influence, when it comes to the Ghanaian politics. We may disagree, but we cannot discount the relevance that he may have, in today's politics. Now, in the MPP, I perhaps like the way the party itself has approached this issue. And I'll explain why. I listened to one beautiful submission by a gentleman, I've forgotten his name, on NIT FM, with Kwesi Abuaje, and I loved his analysis because he sought to, calm the issue, and was even creating the impression that Alan should rethink his decision, etc. But I like how he approached the issue, to be honest with you. Now, but others are also saying that, well, I mean, he should go, especially Chemawun to me and a few others who just simply, the following day issued as a memo that his posters and party paraphernalia should be removed from the party office, etc., etc. Now, Ken is also saying,
who is that?
Kennedy Agyepong, Ken Ohene Akompreko Agyepong, who is also in this race, is saying that, look, we must not at all belabor the issue. Not necessarily belabor the issue, but discount the fact that Alan may be able to win some votes, from the MPP. Do you agree? Do you disagree? But that's what he's saying. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kwame.
Most welcome. Yeah.
Kennedy Agyepong says Alan will take vote from the MPP.
Yeah.
So in this case, it means that we are discussing Alan, we are discussing Kennedy Agyepong. I hope that is
well. Yeah, that's on to you.
Yeah. So first of all, let me deal with Alan first. I think that nobody can say that Alan is not important in the MPP. Indeed, he is one of the foundation members of the party, not a founding member, foundation member of the party. He has been with the party for a very long time, and therefore has, by dint of his hard work, insinuate himself into the minds and hearts of some people. And he has a base, and the base includes MPs and all that.
Right.
He went into elections in the past, and he was unsuccessful.
Yep.
He came into this year, 2023, to try to get to the top of party leadership, and he is not successful. You see, democracy, and for that matter, when it comes to participation in partisan politics, it's a choice. Nobody forces anybody to be in a political party, and therefore when you come in, at any time you can come in. If you look at the Constitution of Ghana, from Article 17 going 21, all that, you are given freedom to to do anything that is lawful. And there is freedom of association, freedom of dissociation. Once there is freedom of association in Article 297, once you can associate, it also imply dissociation. So, if anybody think that Alan going will not affect MPP, at least what I know is that we will be worse off by at least 2 votes, himself and the wife. And that is, because even the Constitution says more. You can be declared as a winner of an election if you have more than 50% of the vote.
Right.
And the list of more than 50% is 50 plus 1. So the 1 is important. So if you don't get the 1, and somebody is taking it away, you should be worried. So in that regard, I think that we will be worse off at least by 2 votes. That is Alan and his wife.
Right.
But what I don't want people to think is that it's going to have a devastating consequence for the MPP. That one I disagree, and I disagree vehemently.
Okay.
Because if you look at even Alan going to contest as independent, 99.9% of his most trusted lieutenants have wished him goodbye. You always say that, no, we were with you by dint of the fact that you are NPP. Kwame, you are my friend.
Yep.
Today, if you come to tell me that, oh, because you are my friend, I mean, let's rebel against the nation. Let's go and join rebels. I will say, bye-bye. Take your own course. You are in a frolic of your own. I will not follow you there. And that is exactly what the people are telling Alan. That we only know you within the circles of MPP. And therefore, if you have a new agenda to execute, you have to do it with your wife. We as MPP, we are not going to follow you there. And I think that is the way to go. You see, the party is bigger than any other consideration. And that has been made clear to him and any other person. And this is not the first time. Alan has always, he has that delight in resigning. We saw that in 2008 when even though he himself voluntarily resigned, voluntarily withdrew from the second round. He went to cite numerous reasons why he wouldn't be comfortable staying in the MPP. And we saw the reaction of Darocha and Co, what they wrote, and said that we would be digging our own graves if we don't allow, the party will be digging its own grave if we don't allow Alan to go, because he will repeat it in future. And the future is here. He has repeated it. So I agree with those who think that we should let him go, because I mean that is his decision. And the reason that he gave for, you know, sometimes you have to manufacture certain things in order to explain yourself away. The reasons that he gave are not tenable. For instance, if you look at the super delegates, we only have one issue of somebody having an altercation with another. One person had an altercation with another, that is all. There was no pervasive violence for anybody to have come to that conclusion that, oh, there was a widespread violence, and then I think that I do not belong. No, there was nothing like that. And we had a winner. And even the person that came second was a distant second. So it's not like, I mean, it was a one-horse race. And you see, that has always been the MPP. Where anytime there's somebody's movement, the party, you know, the party push everything towards there. The MPP, when it was another time, when it was Kufuor time, everybody knew the winner even before the elections. Currently, as we are speaking, even the most obtuse person, when it comes to political knowledge, knows very well that Mahmoud Bawumia is our presumptive flag bearer. You only be deluding yourself, you know, and exactly like what Kennedy Agyepong is doing. Tribal comments and all manner of things. I mean, can you imagine somebody who said that he was born in Wa at a point? Tomorrow he says he was born somewhere else. And then you are telling people, you go to Central Region and tell the people of Central Region that, oh, Nenado has given all the juicy appointment to Northerners. He has given all the juicy appointment to Northerners. You went abroad to say that there's tribalism and therefore the accounts should rise. If in the north people are saying that they should vote for Bawumia on the basis of being a northerner, then the accounts should also rise and all those things. I mean, how? You see, and if you listen to his utterances, it's like, oh, let's spoil the party and go. Let's spoil the party. And I even wonder why people even stand there and listen, because a lot of the people that stand to listen are MPP people. And somebody is denigrating. And that's the reason why at one point he says that the MPP people are fools.
Who?
That Kennedy Agyepong. Because you cannot be on the rally ground or meeting delegates and be insulting the party and be telling the party that you lost the election since 2022. So if we lost the election, what are you now looking for? You want to lead the party to you know, to eventually kill it, because you yourself had agreed that we have lost the election in 2022 when we did the restructuring, the financial restructuring and all that. And you think that if somebody loses money through depreciation of the CD, that is enough ground for the person to lose an election. You are saying that Christians should also rise against Muslims. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, this party is a united party. I mean, you look at even the name of the party itself. In 1958, the Avoidance of Discrimination Act, when Kwame brought that we cannot form political parties on the basis of religion, ethnic and other grounds. Another grounds. All the other political parties, including the then Northern People's Party, and the NLM, and all of them came together. So this is a united party. And because of some political reasons, say the people who are governing now, nobody should be allowed to, if not we will lose. When indeed you are board chairman of Ghana Gas, and therefore part of the governance process.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's the Ghana Gas board chairman. So I think that, let's be honest, I mean, even in as much as the party is calling on all of us to be circumspect in the way we speak, in order not to be incendiary and then, you know, worsen the situation. Sometimes we need to look at some people in their faces and tell them the truth, the brutal truth, that if you are not interested in the party, tell us. Don't go and besmirch the party and create the impression that the party is collapsing in a slow dance of disintegration. The party is not collapsing. Maybe you are rather collapsing. And what is happening is that people are thinking about themselves and not the party. Because me sitting here, may God forbid that I will mount a platform and tell people that the MPP has lost the election, and tell people that Ashantis against Northerners, and this is the same person that will go to the north and ask for their vote. It's the same person that will, when you ask us to take arms against the Evers and the guns, some of us went to the headquarters. That day I was pepper sprayed. I'm telling you.
By who?
The police. I was the first person that they sprayed pepper on.
Why?
In the night.
Why?
Because we were agitating that they should remove him. When he made those incendiary comments, that led to Prof asking that he should be charged with treason and all those things. And you remember your mama coming to say that, Kufuor said that it was an overkill. It's like using a sledgehammer to kill an ant. And your mama came and said that, you should have even used bulldozer to kill that ant and all those things. But I'm saying that you are not the only person that suffered. Even you who claim to have suffered more than everybody, you have also benefited by way of numerous contracts, by way of leadership, and even presenting people to be given positions and all that. So we should not be that you see everything negative, everything that will bring the party into disrepute. That's what they are doing now. And for Alan, I'm happy with Alan, because at least he has drawn the battle line that I am no longer with you, and therefore we can challenge. People can remove his posters. I don't see anything wrong with that, because those posters were portraying him as MPP person with MPP colors and all those things. So if you remove those posters, there's nothing wrong. But his butterfly posters are not removed. If you have your butterfly, that will be dead in 14 days. No problem. That fragile and miserable butterfly, no problem. You have gone your separate way, and therefore whatever that you say, we will challenge you as an outsider. But you cannot be inside and meeting MPP people and inciting them against themselves, and giving ammunition to our opponent, who take it with tanks and will use it against the MPP. And almost all the things that he says, 99% are not true.
Right.
So I mean, in this case of Alan would take vote from MPP. Like I said,
very well. Thank you.
I said, Alan can take 2 votes at least, but that is not enough to bring the MPP down.
Very well. Thank you very much, Akasalia. Let me come to you, Dr. Rashid Peopo. Another a bit dubious.
No. Well, this is Ghana, and well, thank you so much. I think that what is happening in MPP has a lot to tell about the DNA of the party, the character and composition of the party when it comes to the definition of it. Yeah, and yeah, no violence was used against Alan, as Saka has said, but there was so much against him in terms of the composure of the people who went to vote. These were people who were largely controlled by the establishment, and so wherever they directed them was where they were going to go, because people were anxious about their appointments. They were anxious about their alliance with the president and the vice president. So these are people, when asked to go and cast their vote, will definitely want to satisfy their masters. So, and the amount of money, filthy cash, pumped into the voting was aggressive enough for anybody to describe it as violence. And it's indeed one of the reasons why I believe Alan has quitted, because he now has heard that about $50 million is now coming in to contest the main elections. And he said, look, how am I going to contest with these people with this this amount of money brought in from places where it's doubtful where the money is genuine or not. So he just thought that, look, it's better to leave. But you see, the MPP as a unity party has not confirmed itself as a party that accommodates everybody. I remember what the senior minister, what's his name? Osofo Mafu said while they were campaigning. He said that we are the ones who produce all the cocoa. We are the ones who own all this, and these people are ruling us. What is the meaning of that? He divided Ghana into two. We are the ones who are here. We own the cocoa. We produce the tin. We create the economy. And these people are coming to rule over us. He's talking about John Mahama. You understand? So from the head of the party, where the presidency is now, they divided the country. And it is the same thing Agyepong did. And then he and other people fought for him. Rather than getting him punished and stopping this thing from happening, they fought for him. We got him released. No punishment. He is doing it again, now against his own people. But against the state as a nation, I mean the nation, the state as a whole. Because when you perpetually want to divide this country, I don't know what you want to attain out of that. If you are a unity party, let's work towards unity, uniting the people. That party existed because several other fortunes have been pumped into it. Like he has said. Other people who thought that at independence they will not get what they want now have invested their energy into this party. And the party doesn't seem to reflect that. They think only about one-sided effects, one-sided ethnic, or I don't know, very backward thinking about one side of the country. It's not acceptable. We are a state. Look, you have huge countries which are bigger than Ghana, which have more complex relationships, but they are able to accommodate everybody, and they work on. You don't go dividing yourself when you are just a small 30 million people, and you keep saying, we are this, we are that, we are that. You go to say the Northerners are this, like he says, and we are not happy about that. The Sadness are this, the Distant are this, the Evers are this. Why? This is a unity state. We have fought to make Ghana a unity state. When the MLL was formed, it was to give the Ashanti area a differentiated outlook in the unit in Ghana, to say that, look, we don't want to be part of this country ruled by somebody who doesn't belong to us, who we don't know in Nkrumah, we don't know him, we don't want to belong to him, we want to have our separate entity. And then the constitution comes to say, look, this is a unitary state, we can't entertain all that. So from that moment onwards, Ghana became a unitary state. No differentiation about it, no negotiation about it, no thinking about it. The Everland, which Transvolta, Togoland, and the rest, which wanted to divide, be part of, be a separate country, was fought against and defeated. The Ashanti that wanted to be alone fought against and defeated. The Muslims that thought that we could be alone were fought against and defeated. So all that should no longer be part of our discourse. Shouldn't be part of our discussions any longer. But you still find it perpetually, insistently on MPP discourse. And we must be worried about that. Anyway, so what Alan has done is part of our democratic tradition. I may not have done that, but once he has done it, it's to demonstrate how angry he is, how frustrated he is. Alan has always been a very nice man. I mean, we know him. Nice, he talks well, he very cautious in what he says. And then we thought even from the word go that the MPP may have gone for him long before this time. But persistently, they are saying no to him. And finally, he said, look, now I think my people don't like me. Let me leave. And he has left. So I also get worried about the pronouncements by the MPP, as if it's nothing. He should get away. You know, it doesn't matter. It's not good for a political party. We have experienced it before. When the Reform Party came into being, and many people said, oh, who is Guzitano and his people? They can go. And we saw the repercussion. And I believe they also have a history. The MPP also has a history in which the UNC broke away with, they broke away from the Popular Front Party and what the consequences were. And because our two parties have had the experiences, and we should learn from the past without discounting it. But I like the way Saka has said, look, with nothing at all, at least 2 votes will be away from our party.
All right.
Yeah. and that should be considered as a reason for worrying up to an extent. But that shouldn't discourage them from fighting. Except that in Ghana today, I know that he might disagree, and many MPP people would disagree, only for the ordinary members to still have confidence that they are coming back. But the discontent, the anger against poor governance, economic governance, poor political governance, destruction of our democracy, killing of people to attain a political aim, not respectful of the laws of Ghana at one point or the other, are all reasons why people are going to move away from the party. You know. And it's good for Ghana. It's good that at any point in time, when people are generally dissatisfied, a change occurs and keeps our democracy alive.
Very well. I think the last topic is also very, very important.
Yeah, so just give me 1 minute to deal with this topic. I want to disagree with Doc on 1 or 2 things. First of all, you talk about the composition of the delegates, and that these are people that the president can just, ask to do A, B, C, D, and then they will do it. I don't think so. Because the composition also includes the grassroots. I mean, you cannot say that party chairman can be at the behest of the president at any time. No. And we have from party chairman to regional to national, and some few ministers. How many are the ministers that we take out of over 900? That is number one. Second, and this is not the first time, this composition has been with us even when we were in opposition. And Alan participated in that with the same composition, and he didn't complain. Then I don't know where the 15 million honorable doctor is talking about. I mean,
I say it's rumored that 15 million.
Such rumors is a figment of somebody's imagination. I mean, especially mischievous makers.
I have 2 minutes to.
No, let me finish.
But the Korle-Bu issue is very. Let me.
So let me end with.
I think you've made your point.
The last point. You talk about frustration. That maybe Alan is frustrated because you see. And especially when it comes to leadership, it is not about frustration. That a small challenge, then I say that because there is this challenge, I'm frustrated and therefore I have to show my anger.
Thank you.
By leaving
dialysis, Korle-Bu dialysis. The initial amount was I think around 300 Ghana cedis or so, but now it has shot up. I listened to the CEO of Korle-Bu come out to disagree with the reported increment, because he said that he had not followed due process and that they could not have increased the amount without the approval of the board. What we are learning, in fact, yesterday I saw somebody's receipt of the dialysis, and it was a reflection of the changes which have been made. So Ghanaians are now up in arms, like that you came and told us that the change had not happened, but you are actually charging people this X amount of money. And dialysis is not, so you are pricing people out of life. It's expensive. I've listened to accounts of people who, in fact, a lady who was crying, that she literally has to beg people for money to be able to take her mother to the hospital for dialysis every week. you know, and it is costing every. I think at the time she said she's paid 370 Ghana cedis or 385 Ghana cedis or so. Now they're pushing it to 700 something Ghana cedis. How can people afford it? Especially when they, you know, we are in very difficult times. People are unable to even, you know, feed themselves. So Korle-Bu being a public hospital, one would have expected that they would have acted in ways which will rather, you know, alleviate the sufferings of the Ghanaian people, not to compound same.
Well, let me tell you that we are very, very much behind times. In some jurisdictions, dialysis has now become a home process. They have developed a system that you can do at home. You buy the equipment and you do it at home. And then the cost element is taken away. Those who go to hospitals to do it, they have insisted that because it's a right to life to be kept on the system, they have reduced it to the point that any poor person can walk in and do dialysis. In Ghana, we want to use it to make money, which is unacceptable. I just lost a brother's wife who had to go through dialysis, and they were in WA. They were saying that he was going to pay $700 Ghana cedis or something like that. And
780.
780.
Yeah.
And I
From
kept
300
asking
and something to 700 and something.
Yeah, the lady just passed on. You can't do that a week. How much are they earning?
How?
So for the 99% of Ghanaians who cannot provide 700 Ghana cedis a week,
You are killing them.
you are saying when you have a liver condition, go die.
Hey, Charlie.
So that's the problem. So I think that we should sit down. It should be a national policy. We should come out with a strong national policy towards it, so that it can be subsidized. And how many people are going through this dialysis? Not so many. And so once we do education on how to prevent a situation where you have a liver challenge, those who are going through the system must be helped, so that you don't see your death and face it.
Yeah, because the argument is even and I think I loved the angle. They sought to connect the sort of FDA standard board and things like that, and they linked it to the kidney failures that we experience, and that they have several products on the market, which are not being, you know, looked at properly. People consume those products and then they get kidney, and then you say they should come and pay 7. So it's like societal dysfunctioning, which,
and you know, the people who are in buses and advertising some drugs.
Yes, nobody is checking
and
them.
Then, you know, we allow them.
Yes,
I have a radio station in WA. I said, look, if anybody brings all these stupid things and say they want to advertise, don't accept them. Because the station goes far. And the people are going to be affected. So, and I think that should be a policy, national policy. Don't entertain them in our buses. Don't entertain them in our radio stations. If you make a drug and it is not approved by the FDA, cannot be sold and all that. But you have all these funny drugs going around. People are taking it, you know, some to enhance erectile functions,
you know,
and then people are dying.
You know, this generation, I don't know, because for these types of sicknesses, Saka, you would agree with me that those days there were old men and, you know, why not all these young boys drinking?
Jerry Rollins, I had a conversation with him some time ago, and he was lamenting those days about what was coming to Ghana. He cited an example of a driver he knew who had so many children, much more than him, but was so bent on taking those kinds of drugs. And he warned him a number of times, because he would see the thing and then he would tell him. But eventually, at age 35, the man died of liver complications.
Because you're taking things, you're taking drugs.
And he said Ghanaians must be warned, and that this thing cannot continue. But it is continuing. People are dying. Now we are looking for a cure. And so I think that we need to be very mindful about these
sexual enhancement products, and people, I don't know what is in it. People want to, you know, over-satisfy women. How can you satisfy a woman?
You satisfy yourself.
It's not possible.
Satisfy yourself. Why do you have to satisfy some other person? Satisfy yourself.
but on a more serious note, it's a big issue.
Yeah, it's a big issue.
It's a big issue. You see all these drug enhancement products and things like that. They've not been certified by FDA. People consume them. You know, and they want to.
Let me tell you a story. There was a certain group that came out to test the market. I even have the video to test the market, and they use Makofa. Makofa is like malt. It's an acronym.
Yeah.
Malt, Coke, and Fanta. So they make it Makofa. They just pour. Oh, the video is here. They just pour malt here. Add Coke, add Fanta, and then they package it, and they gave it to radio and TV stations. They just wanted people to know that what they have been advertising all along, you know, it does not go. It doesn't go through FDA and all.
And they say it kills so many things.
So the people are here shouting. Even listen to them. I mean, those who are advertising. I see they themselves have tested it, and they have seen the efficacy and all those things. Then they were telling people that look at them. We are just adding Coke, Fanta, and malt, and call it Makofa, and then you are here shouting and praising it, and all that. So that's what is happening. People are just killing others, and but let me delve so much into I think that Korle-Bu goofed big time, and especially when it comes to some of these more or less deadly or diseases. You don't sentence somebody to death by giving a price that is completely out of the ordinary. There is nobody that can go through this dialysis for life. You definitely have problem with finances, and then in the face of this, just imagine. I mean, is it 300 for and you have to go like 4 times a month or so? And what kind of work would you be doing? Even the current 300. Then all of a sudden somebody says somewhere without thinking and increase it and says that, oh, because government has removed some incentives, I mean
waivers.
If government has done that, why can't you sit with the same government? Because you have seen the people who come there every day to do this dialysis. A lot of them, they suffer. Kwame, there's a certain poem that has a title, Let Me Die a Young Man's Death. It's about the fact that there are certain death that is so protracted, you lose your self-esteem, you lose your everything before you die. And people pray that, okay, they should rather die through accident and other things other than through some of these things. And if you take somebody through this agony of having to even plead with the enemy to give him or her money to go and do dialysis, it's so degrading. And on top of this, somebody says somewhere, and they say that, oh, I have vetoed it, or I have decreed. Meanwhile, we have ways and means. The system stipulates how public service, I mean the public sector can increase their fees. And that is the Fees and Charges Act. It has to go through a process, even go through parliamentary ratification and all that before it can said to be acceptable to be used. Then somebody sits somewhere and decides that he will unilaterally sentence people to death. I think that the chief executive of the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital must come out and apologize. Else, it's better he resign. And apart from that, the people whose money have been taken, whose monies have been taken out of the illegality, must be compensated. Apart from even refunding the money to them, must also be compensated. Because how do you even compensate somebody who is going through this thing? I mean, the mind itself is exhausted. And to add some of these things to it, in the end, people will talk about the government will come in here. Meanwhile, it is one person who through his unilateral action will bring bad name to government, and that is what has been happening. And I'm sure that government quickly came out and they themselves was that now beating retreat and saying, oh, this was not sanctioned, it was... Meanwhile, we've seen the notice. And the notice was from the unit head. And who gave the unit head?
The authorization.
The authorization to pay. And this one was pasted there. And this is not any medicine at all. You see, let me tell you one thing. Me today, if I become president, I don't, no matter what. You see, there are certain things that defines us. If you go to the US and other places, other developers, they call themselves the civilized world. And I can understand why they call themselves the civilized world, because they care for lives. They will do any and everything to ensure that they protect life. In our case, you know that the people who are coming for dialysis suffer to even get the money to come there. But you don't care. You care less about it. However they get the money, you don't care. And that is the difference between us and then the developed or civilized world. They will protect lives and we will throw lives away. And that's the problem that I have. If I become president today, those who go through, and especially where the importance of having Ghana card is important here. Because sometimes when you say that they should go through it free, you see people, rushing in drove from other countries or neighboring countries to come and use it free. So if you are Ghanaian, and you are going through distance, we should be able to absorb the costs until such time that maybe you are either cured.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's have a conversation on some of these things. We cannot allow Ghanaians to be going through this drudgery. This whole manner.
Death sentence.
Death sentence.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Saka. Ibrahim Abdul Karim Jabbar says, in Canada, dogs are treated well more than human beings in Ghana. Dogs go to a dentist on a monthly basis for free. How many people in Ghana have seen dentists in the last 5 years? Well, Juliana Belinda Obri says they have to account for every single penny. Ibrahim Abdul Karim again says herbalists are paying FDA agents for a fake certificate, similar to other agencies such as the passport office, immigration offices, etc. The hospital administration is packed with thieves. Philip Aboji says, good morning, my good friend. The good people of Kita and Loga and K2 South are suffering from tidal waves, and almost all houses are occupied by seawater. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama donated food items, blankets, and mattresses to affected people. My question here is, how long can we continue receiving rice and oil? The government of the day refused to pay much attention to the Volta region. Abochi Philip from Kita. Patrick says, good morning. This one says, I wonder why Ghanaians always act ignorant. A person who has been the... Okay, right. So, Dennis Y. Akwete says, it is sad to hear the development in Korle-Bu relative to the cost of dialysis, but even as we bemoan the reported issue, I want to ask a question. Why is it difficult for Nkrumah's Ghana 60 years plus after independence to have a special fund dedicated for dialysis services and bring same under the NHIS for free, when we know that kidney-related diseases that require dialysis are not only critical but knows no boundaries and can affect the ordinary poor Ghanaian, as has been on ascendancy in recent times? I just can't fix it. Shalom. Thank you very much for your message. Ibrahim again says, when you have a clearing agent as president, what do you think? All right. These are the messages that you've shared with us this morning. I am grateful to you, thank you very kindly for watching. Dr. Rashid Pepo, thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate your presence. Saka Salia, thank you very much. Thank you to those who found the time to watch us this morning. My name is Kwame Owusu, so it's always exciting to be seated here and to be moderating the show. For those of you who were able to leave us messages, thank you very much. For those of you who shared the feed, thank you very much. For those of you who sent us messages via text message and WhatsApp, thank you very much. I'm grateful to you. And to those of you who watched us from the comfort of your homes, thank you very much. I'm grateful to you. I will see you guys tomorrow. Do have a very pleasant day. My name is Kwame Owusu, so the morning show continues. Stay with us.